CauseLabs, and I'm joined here with Mike Rich, CauseLabs Creative Director, and Gretchen Howard, the Database Manager at the California Childcare Resource and Referral Network. Gretchen, if you'll introduce us to the network and what y'all do.
Sure, thank you, Mirandy. So the California Childcare Resource and Referral Network, which we also refer to as the network, is a nonprofit organization that serves all of California in making childcare more affordable, more accessible, and better quality. And so we do this in a number of ways. We do research on the childcare supply and demand, public policy, grassroots advocacy, and we implement training programs for providers throughout the state. And we're a membership organization made up of 68 nonprofits throughout the state of California. So they are in every county in the state. And through that network, those member organizations, which are resource and referral agencies or R&Rs, the R&Rs serve their local community in their childcare needs. So they serve families in finding childcare and serve providers in starting and growing their business. So that's kind of in a nutshell what both the network and our network of organizations does in the state.
Awesome, thank you. So our partnership began in 2019. Could you tell us a little bit about what led the network to CauseLabs?
Absolutely. Well, so the network got a grant to build a childcare consumer education website for the state of California. And this is a federal mandate for all states to have as part of the big childcare block grant that funds the majority of childcare programs and subsidies throughout the country. So when the main, cause that led us to CauseLabs was just help. Basically, the goal is helping families find childcare online and connect with their local resources. So, because the big challenge there is that from our research, we knew families were searching online for childcare, but were really dissatisfied with the results. A lot of folks were going to just a Google search or Craigslist or Yelp to make really one of the most important decisions you can make, right? Of who's going to care for your child. And it's really hard to compare childcare services on all of these different platforms. You don't know who the information's coming from or who to trust. So that was the big challenge that we wanted to solve, is having a searchable directory of all of the licensed childcare programs in the state, as well as educational materials to help families understand how to navigate that information and how to make choices that they can trust and build relationships with their childcare program. But there are kind of also a few other challenges braided in there, and some of which CauseLabs kind of helped us to surface and identify. So the secondary challenge that we hoped that this website would address is helping stabilize childcare programs in a certain way, and helping childcare providers market their business online. Because, it can be, childcare providers need to, wear a lot of hats as oftentimes, independent business owners. And so that marketing piece can really be a challenge. And that's what resource and referral agencies have been doing for 30 years, is helping families connect with childcare providers and therefore, helping their business. And but since we know that people are looking online, we wanted to make this available in a free, trustworthy resource. And third challenge that that really, I would say, very much came from our research with CauseLabs was the challenge of there simply not being enough childcare really anywhere in the country, but the supply has continually been a major challenge because even folks who folks who need childcare, often it's just challenging to find childcare near you. So one thing that we did that I felt was really innovative with this platform is building in a pathway for folks to learn more about opening a childcare business from their home, and really educating people about what they can get out of that and the whole process of how that happens, and being able to track their progress on our platform. And finally, if I could speak to just one more challenge that we had was this was more of an overarching thing that our organization had been talking about for a long time, is the issue of branding our services. Because as I mentioned, our member organizations are 68 independent nonprofits. They're all resource and referral agencies, which means that all of them are funded by the state to help families, regardless of income, find childcare. But they all have different names, based in different areas. Many of them offer different programs depending on the needs of their local community. And that's made it really hard for people to know that Child Action in Sacramento is the same as the Mexican American Opportunity Foundation in Los Angeles, is the same as the Human Response Network in Trinity. Like, they're so diverse and serve different needs. And so one thing we were really excited about with this statewide platform is kind of bringing all of the R&R services under one brand of My Child Care Plan, so that regardless of where you are based in the state, you can just go onto this website and find not only childcare providers, but the many, many resources that your local R&R has to offer when you're working to make that decision of who will care for your child.
Wow, so there's so many moving parts and needs and users that you identified along the way through this discovery process. Could you and or Mike talk about how through the discovery process with CauseLabs and your team that you were able to create the platform to meet those needs? Like, what was that process like for you all?
Yeah, I'll start off and then I'll kick it over to Mike. So I think it started off with us kind of sharing just all sorts of different ideas, issues, struggles that our many constituencies face when it comes to childcare. This is something that my organization has been really explicitly studying since 2014. And even before the federal legislation came out that our state needed to build this, we knew that we needed this just based off of talking with parents. It's super hard to find childcare. And so we started, just by a big brainstorm and coming up with a lot of ideas, doing a workshop with paper prototyping, which is a really fun new process for my organization. Really quickly went into user testing, and then the CauseLabs team did an in-depth human-centered design discovery phase, which was, I think, extremely fruitful for us. Mike, do you want to kind of share from your end what that process looked like?
Sure. Yeah, you spoke to it a little bit, Gretchen, in just the fact that you and your team was so versed in this landscape and know so much and have so much experience. Really, the process from CauseLabs' point of view started by just listening and kind of trying our best to pull out all of the rich information that you all have in your minds and in your experience in working in this field. And one of the things that stood out to me as an example of just how big and complex this problem is that kind of the first day our teams gathered together in your office in San Francisco, and we mapped out the system of childcare and just all of the entities that are involved in it, from like state legislature to the map was gigantic. I can't remember all the pieces. You can probably name them all, but it took up the entirety of about a 20-foot by 12-foot wall, post-it notes and kind of mad scientist connection points around all of them. It was really quite incredible to see how many moving pieces there were that we might need to consider. And of course, going through the conversation, the process of refining that, digging further in, we were able to focus and hone in on the more pertinent pieces of that puzzle. So yeah, that's kind of where we started to get an understanding of the lay of the land. And then we went into understanding some of the more primary roles in the system, as far as user personas go, developing those out for kind of the main roles that we were wanting to design for. That was a really fruitful process. Just kind of developing and understanding and empathizing with our, potential users that we're going to be designing this system for, helped to really ground the rest of our discussions in through a human lens, which was really, really important, really helpful to go from that abstract to maybe a more human level. And my son is here wanting something. I'm on a phone call right now. You'll have to give me some time. So that points me to another thing. This is a very personal process and project for me, in that I'm a dad with 3 kids, all under the age of 11 now. And just knowing from personal experience how difficult it is to find childcare for the diverse needs that my kids and my own family have. And you take that and you expand that out to a statewide level of a state as large as California. And you can just see the difficulty, the complexity that was at hand in solving these problems, and helping parents find childcare that fits for their family, fits for their value system, fits for the specific needs of multiple children. It was really a very deep and meaningful process and project for me. I'm gonna go on mute now and see what this problem is at my left.
I love that. Do you have anything you want to add to what Mike was saying about the experience that he had with your team?
Yeah, I mean, as Mike mentioned, this field that
Oh no, you're back.
Okay,
We got you.
good. So yeah, I mean, as Mike mentioned, this childcare landscape that we're in California, with connected with government agencies and all sorts of public and private nonprofits, is very complicated. There's so many kind of intersections, and so I think a big part of it for us, of that process was really just pinpointing the areas where we would want to focus on, to the areas that we could make an impact without overstepping into, other folks' territory, and also, looking at the private competitors that can sometimes have somewhat predatory business schemes of having childcare providers who are historically one of the most undervalued and underpaid fields in our country, making money off of them to advertise their programs. We just thought, based off of our whole discovery process, we just felt that there were so many opportunities for this platform to offer really valuable services for free for families and providers, to kind of help close that loop of the information gap of providers trying to fill their spots with families, and families trying to find childcare that they can trust and information that they can compare across programs. So I think that whole discovery process kind of helped just like crystallize all of that for us.
Awesome. So I'm thinking about that process, and even like after that, in hindsight, what would you say were some value adds that this process still has for your organization? Some things that you took away from this whole 2-year experience of building this project and platform out with CauseLabs that you all still practice, or that you're really grateful that you had that deliverable?
Yeah, I think that, overall, a lot of the process has been helpful for us moving forward. Just, kind of the whole like design thinking in a certain regard. We knew that we wanted to work with an organization that would do a lot of kind of user-focused testing and design, which is what made us choose to go with CauseLabs. But we were just so impressed with the human-centered design interviews and the documentation that came from that. So because CauseLabs gave us this kind of huge document with all of these in-depth interviews, recordings, transcripts, and takeaways from all sorts of different childcare providers across the state. And those findings definitely is something that I return to again and again and again throughout the process, just to kind of reground ourselves in the real pain points that different types of providers are facing, and families, and kind of what they hope to see come out of this whole process. And that's also been really valuable for sharing with our partners, so that they can get an understanding of the type of thought and whole process that went into this. And beyond that, it's really kind of been something that we keep drawing from for other projects as well, because some of those interviews with providers were so in depth, or we were really pleased with how our interviewer Hyunju Chapel went through some of these pain points in detail with providers. So projects even since then that aren't directly related to this have been touched on in those interviews. And so it's something that we can kind of go back to and find stories from providers about, right now the state is kind of evaluating our quality rating system, and we can go back to these interviews and find out what some of these childcare providers have said about this. And also, I think it's really shown us, I think, of course, we we always had a value of working closely with providers and families, but this process helped us figure out how to prioritize that and how early in the stage of our design processes and our project's implementation we should involve user interviews and user testing, and kind of the difference between some of these different types of engaging with our audiences we can do. Because I think, it's something that sounds great, but a lot of folks in our field don't really feel that they know how to do, user testing or whatnot. And I think through seeing the CauseLabs team do these different types of engagement with the folks that we are, building this product for, it made it all feel more accessible. And so that's something that we've been able to kind of carry on. We've done some usability testing with our website with parents, and we're doing usability testing with a different platform with providers. And also kind of understanding more about how that factors into an iterative design process, where we can use, real input from the users to make small tweaks to our digital products here and there that can have a really big impact. So yeah, I think a lot of that has just carried over in the way of kind of just understanding and incorporating a lot more human-centered design into a lot of the projects that we've done since.
Well, it's really great to hear that you're able to continue to use human-centered design and those other skills, like really hone them in to continue to use them forward. And I like how, actually, how long was the workshop that CauseLabs and the network had together? If you remember, I know it's been a few years.
Do you just mean the original workshop phase of like the jumping off point when we first met in person?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that phase, I guess, first we had 2 virtual meetings that where we kind of brainstormed and kind of shared some of the problems that we're working to address. And then the CauseLabs team came to our San Francisco office for 4 full days where we just kind of all holed up in our conference room and just put stickies all over the walls. And like, yeah, that was a 4-day, full day process.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a really fantastic process. And I always love, when we're able to get on site with our partners and really like spend that time. There's something that comes out when we're all in a room together. It's like a shared mind that comes together that like really facilitates a lot of great, information download, information transfer, and it really allows CauseLabs as a team to go really far, really fast in understanding the problem, understanding the complexities, the people that we're designing for. Yeah, really, really helpful 4 days. And at the end of those 4 days, we had several clickable prototypes that we were able to use with people on the 3rd and 4th day. We were able to get some good insight from them right off the bat, and then iterate on those designs for our HCD interviewer to go out in the field with and kind of present to people, and get more responses, more holistic feedback there too. So yeah, those 4 days I feel were really, really invaluable for the whole team, really, to all get on the same page and really get a lot of great benefit really tangible products even at the end.
Well, I would love if we were able to do our demo so we can see the My Childcare platform and what our teams worked on together. And also, as Gretchen goes through this, Mike, feel free to hop in with any insights you might have into the process that helped develop it.
Yes, please do. All right, I'll go ahead and share my screen. Can you see it?
I'm not seeing it. There, I think it's coming. There we go. Yes.
Okay, great. So so mychildcareplan.org has not yet launched, but we are hoping to launch it soon. So this is our production website. It's fully functional. It's just password protected at this point. And so the main thing that we believe will draw people to the website is searching for childcare. But as I mentioned early on, beyond that, we have a few secondary goals of connecting people with their local resource and referral agency, so that they know that there are real humans in their county, in their city that can help them kind of navigate the childcare landscape. Childcare providers can promote their business and whatnot. So I can go more into that in a minute, but to start off, right at the top of the page, you can search for childcare. So I'm going to type in zip code, and from there, you can see some childcare results pop up. If you'd like a more tailored experience, you can answer a short 5-question survey to get more specific results based on things like the age of your child, their schedules they need care, languages of care, and whatnot. Or you can just do a location search and just jump in and filter down from there. You'll see we have a number of filters at the top, and when we did a competitive analysis, our data just is so much richer than the private competitors. So we've got a lot of information that families can filter down so that they, can find the programs that they need that will suit their family's unique needs. On the left here are the childcare program results in this area. So there's both licensed family childcare homes and licensed childcare centers, which like preschools. So in this preview area, we're also, again, this is a common theme throughout the website, but we always are working to highlight the user's local resource and referral agency so that they know, again, that there's somebody that can help them if they have any questions or are feeling overwhelmed. And we have a map. One of our big values is to protect the privacy of family childcare homes, because after all, this is somebody's house. And so CauseLabs really worked with us to take a lot of careful measures to make it so that our platform is user-friendly and helpful to parents that need to find care without revealing personal details such as somebody's home address. So that's why we have these kind of circles on the spot marking roughly where the family childcare homes are. You can find more details about any provider that you're interested in by clicking into their profile. And this profile is, something that providers can use to advertise their platform. their program. So it shows some basics such as where they're located, their business hours, and every provider on our platform has a phone number that you can call to reach them. Some also have an email and some have a website. Then we have some important details about the program. So some of the top things that families time and time again said that they need to know is, of course, do they have any space for my child? So that's right up here. And we always let them know when that data was last updated so that they can factor that in. We also did a lot of work to braid the consumer education aspect of this consumer ed website into the childcare search itself. So providers can add tags for their program, which is usually has to do with their program curriculum or their childcare philosophy. So you can see this program is bilingual, which we offer just a short 1 or 2 sentence description of. And then you can click learn more to access to search for resource articles about that type of care. Then there's also some basics such as, languages spoken, schedules offered, do they offer food, do they have special needs experience, and so on. And another really important thing, we link to their entire licensing history. So this is public information that families are really strongly encouraged to look up before enrolling at any childcare program. This shows their entire history of any citations, all of their inspections, and any complaints they've gotten over the years. So, and they can also see if they have a quality rating, what that is. And then finally, there's some more education about kind of what your next steps are when you've found some programs that you're interested in. So families, I'm logged in as a parent right now. And now since I am logged in, I can actually save this provider to a list of providers. And you can create different lists. Perhaps if, maybe I have an infant and a 10-year-old who needs, and the infant needs full-time care, but the 10-year-old only needs, after school care. You can save different lists to meet the different needs of your family. Or perhaps I'm looking for childcare both near my work and near my home. So the platform's really flexible because we know that the needs of families can vary a lot. So I can go to see my different lists of providers I've saved, and by going to my kind of parent profile, and there's different information such as the childcare plan page shows, allows me to kind of jump to different searches I've saved. And this resources section is where I have saved a list of my favorite childcare programs. And a nice thing that we've done here is you can also add notes about different childcare programs. So you can, one of the things that resource and referral agencies always encourage families to do is really vet the program. So, perhaps a phone interview, do a visitation, and visit with your child so that they can get a sense of if they like the program. So you can keep those types of notes right in your profile. So for families beyond, searching for childcare programs, we've also got a ton of educational resources on the platform. So some of these are about choosing childcare, such as, interview questions for providers. And we've got articles about a ton of different childcare philosophies that you might find, so that families really feel empowered to ask their providers and engage with them about what what they love about caring for children. We've also got information about families' rights in childcare, including policies on expulsions and suspensions, and how to file a complaint if it comes to that. We've got information about licensing and safety, such as how a provider becomes licensed, what kind of background checks do they pass, and lots of other information, about finding a childcare subsidy and other subsidy programs that could help families, such as food assistance, housing assistance, and such information. So yeah, because this is kind of, again, coming back to that philosophy again, where you can see the local resource and referral agency. Part of what resource and referral agencies do, beyond just like a transactional, okay, take my zip code, here's some providers, is helping guide the family through the process and helping them understand what types of considerations they may have, what they can expect from tours and from, enrolling in a childcare program and knowing their rights. So it is super important to us that none of that gets lost, because our goal here isn't to replace that human interaction that folks have, but it's really just to kind of support it. And, for families that might be, we know that a lot of parents are busy during the day, so maybe they want to start their search online in the evening. And we wanted to make sure that they still have some of this educational information at their fingertips, just like if they were visiting their local R&R. And so, yeah, speaking of local R&R, again, you can see this widget here where we're kind of highlighting some of the things that they have to offer. And we have a profile, beyond just profiles for providers, we also have a profile for each resource and referral agency in the state. And so this has some basic information, such as when they're open, the different languages that their staff speak, and their contact information. And then the R&R can also highlight the different programs that they offer, because as I mentioned, one of the core tenets of R&Rs is being responsive to their local community. So all of them offer childcare referrals, which is also what this website helps to do, is help families find childcare. But they also offer a lot of other great resources, like many of them have a resource library where families or providers can come and get materials for children. Maybe you can get free diapers or toys that are good for engaging toddlers or whatnot. And so this profile is something that the local R&R can really customize and bring to life with the services that they offer to their local community. So those are some of the offerings for our primary audience of kind of parents and families in the state that are looking for care. And there's also a lot to offer for licensed providers or folks who are interested in becoming licensed. So providers who are already licensed are going to be in our system because this whole website is supported by a back-end statewide database that has information about every licensed childcare provider in the state of California. So if you're one of those licensed providers, you can actually come on this platform and claim your profile to keep it updated. And that's going to help market your business to keep your business steady and stay fully enrolled. So we've got information for the providers about that. And they can, customize their profile with uploading photos of their site, writing an about me so that people can, again, just understand, what brought you to childcare? What do you love about the field? And then there's also this kind of third pathway for folks who are interested in starting a childcare business. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, we need more childcare supply in our state, and I think every state in the country. And so one of the most successful programs that California and the R&R network helps to run is the Childcare Initiative Project, which is a program that supports folks in opening up and growing their family childcare homes, which is a childcare program based out of your house. So we wanted to highlight that program on this platform to help people who maybe are having trouble finding care or looking for another source of income. They can open their own business right out of their house. So this is where we offer some great information, including one thing that I think is really unique is we're actually highlighting here data that my organization conducts about the supply and demand of childcare across the state in every county in California. So you can see here, there are 50,000 licensed childcare spaces in Alameda County and over 115,000 children under 5 that may need care. So you can see exactly what the gap is in, the supply and demand. So folks can understand how much of an impact they can actually make in their local community by opening up a childcare business. So if they go through making a profile to become a childcare provider, this is going to walk them through the process of connecting them with the resources in the state that they need to become licensed and get going with their business. So yeah, I mean, when we did that market comparison, our marketing team found that we have a better search function than the private competitors that are offering childcare search, and they said that this website is a no-brainer for providers to join because what we're offering for free is something that many platforms charge monthly fees for. So we're really excited about the opportunity once we launch this site to help bring providers and families closer together to get a better picture than ever of real-time availability of childcare. And one last thing I want to highlight is that CauseLabs really helped us in making this platform accessible. And, it's fully mobile responsive, offered in, multiple languages. So we're just really pleased with what we've been able to build together. Mike or Mirandi, did you have anything that you wanted me to dig into, or should I stop sharing my screen?
I don't know, Mike, do you have anything you want to highlight?
I was just going to ask Gretchen if you could maybe tell that brief story that you were telling us before this call started about how the childcare providers are really kind of chomping at the bit to be able to use some of this functionality and just some of the some of the feedback that you've received so far from people that are actually going to use this system in the very near future?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was telling Mike and Randy this morning that, just this morning was emailed by one of our contacts in a neighboring county who has been working closely with a group of family childcare providers to kind of assess their needs and figure out, they're working on a pilot program to figure out the best way to support family childcare, because that's something a lot of government agencies have been doing because, again, of that big divide between the supply and demand. So from working with these family childcare providers, they found that the number one thing that the providers were asking for was help building a website, because in this day, you really need an online presence to be competitive as a business. But again, I mean, family childcare providers have to do so many things. Not only are they do they have to have a passion for raising and nurturing young children, but they also need to, do their own accounting, record keeping, all of these different things. And web design is just not one that many of them care to learn. And so when we showed the advocates and the providers this platform, that, this really attractive profile with all of this information is going to be pre-built for you, and you can log in anytime you want from your phone in multiple languages to update your information. They were just super excited about this. And so we're really excited to be able to launch this and work with providers across the state to advertise their programs, because it's just something that's totally necessary for them to grow their business. And we don't think that, if we can support them in having this great looking website without having to, learn how to use some content management platform or something like that, then I think that's a win for all of us. So because I mean, all of us just want to know currently, what's available. And so we're trying to reduce as many barriers as possible for providers to keep families and the state updated with that information with as little burden on them as possible.
Thank you so much for sharing and demoing. We're really excited also about this, and we're really honored and grateful that we've gotten to work with you and your team. And we can't wait until the state and the families and everyone gets to use it, and really just to see the impact that it's able to make. So thank you so much for your time and just for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Yeah, thank you.
CauseLabs can help you grow positive impact. Let us know if you have a new project that could use a strategic partner.